Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the North Carolina Museum of Art. My name is Ollie Wagner. I'm the studio programs manager. Before we get started, I just want to let everybody know that, as always, we're recording this, and a recording of this will be sent out to everybody who registered. You guys can feel free to share that with anyone that you think may be interested. Um, Everybody is muted, so if you guys have questions, just type them into the chat and I will ask the artist on your behalf. And also we will open it up for a Q&A towards the end. All right, so let me introduce today's artist is Vinita Jain. I know her because she's been in Monster Drawing Rally and she's shown kind of all over Raleigh and Cary. She's a great artist. I love her work and I'm excited that she's able to come out and share her pastels with everybody. So Vinita, are you ready?
Uh, Thanks for the introduction, Ollie.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to be here as well to share my process and do a demo for everybody. I've been a visual artist. I just want to say, just introduce myself a little bit about the history of using pastels. I've been a pastel artist for more than 15 years, and I have worked in a different variety of subject matter. And I started with more realistic work, but gradually moved to more semi-abstract and abstract works. So pastel had been my only medium that I worked for many, many years. And it's only recently that I've started working with mixed media and paint. So today, as you know, that we are going to do an abstracted floral, and all of you have seen probably this image that was posted. This is one of my florals. But before I start with the actual process, I want to show you some of the materials that I use and some of the materials that the pastel artists use in case you are new to the pastel. So pastels are like little, you can call them chalks. They come in like boxes like this. They are they look like little chalks, but they're actually pigments just rolled with very little binder. So they're actually just pure pigment sticks. And these are soft pastels, and they when you apply them, they feel very velvety and soft. Most of the time for pastels, a special paper is used for working. Usually a paper which has a little bit of tooth works better because it can hold the pastel dust and the pastel. So one of the pastel papers that I've used for a really long time is this one. And this is very good for beginners. Vinita's pastel paper. It comes in different colors and it has two sides. One is more coarse and one is more smooth. So this is one kind of, and there are a lot of different varieties of pastel paper, which you can find in Jerry's or in Michael's. So this is a good paper to start with if you are a beginner. Then there are a lot of other papers available. I have tried a lot of different ones. This is another company which makes the paper, which is called Pastel Matte. I think this comes from France, so it's much more expensive. Another paper is Velour, which I've recently tried, and this one almost feels like a velvety, soft texture to work on. The paper that I'm going to work on today is actually this one. It's called it's the U art paper. It comes in different grids. That means in different, some are more coarser and some are more finer. So depending on that, which paper you want to work with, you can buy that. I'm going to work on a U art, which is kind of a medium grid. So this was a little introduction to the pastels, paper, and the pastels themselves. Now, I prefer to work pastel standing so that the pastel dust can fall vertically. But if you're working with pastel horizontally, and as you work with pastel, you'll find that a lot of dust kind of gets collected on it. So instead of blowing on it, you can just take your paper that you're working with and just tap it on the table. Just keep another loose sheet of paper and just keep tapping the paper, the loose pastel dust so that it doesn't keep collecting on your surface if you're working horizontally. So I want to show you I want to show you my process of starting with pastels or starting with drawings. I love drawing and I like to start everything with a good drawing. And I have sketchbooks that I keep with me, and I use a simple ink pen, and I do a lot of drawings in the sketchbook. Now, they could be abstract, or they could be floral, they could be sometimes I do figures in it. I do florals, and I can take this sketchbook anywhere I want to, and I can make these sketches even if I'm traveling. And I like to work from life, so it's all the florals that I have done. It's either a flower arrangement in front of me, or I like to draw from life when it comes to sketching. So I have a lot of these sketchbooks which are filled with different kinds of drawings, florals, abstracts, figures, um, and a lot of abstracts as I'm doing. So what I usually do is when I like some of my drawings, and I feel I want to enlarge them, I just take a bigger photocopy of it. So when I take a bigger photocopy, I can then just put it next to the painting that I'm working on, so that I can use this as a reference. So a lot of times when I do pastel drawings, I'm using just my pen and ink drawings as a reference for those. So I have a lot of these, and depending on which one I want to work, I can choose and I can start painting. So this is my first step, but I can also draw from real floral arrangement, or I can also draw from photographs, although I try avoiding working from photographs. I think working from life is much more fun. And I'll show you my process of doing the pastels, but as you can see, I can start with the same drawing, the same pen and ink drawing, but I can get a very different um, pastel drawing in the end. And that is because I work very spontaneously, intuitively, and it's very hard for me um, to kind of repeat a particular painting that looks exactly the same way. So every time I do, I get a different kind of a result. So I'm showing you some of my finished pastel drawings, abstracted floral drawings, just to give you an idea that it can end up looking more abstracted, or it can end up looking more floral. And one day it might look different from the other, and which is absolutely fine, because I allow myself to just go with the flow of what is happening that particular day. So this was my brief introduction about my process. Now I just want to show, I just want to give you a little idea about how to use pastel on the paper in case you're new, and I can also show you some of the lines and the shapes and how I like to work with the pastels. So I'm going to switch the camera, and this is just my experimental sheet. I do have a set of pastels that I have laid down for the drawing today. And as you can see, I have laid down some reds and I have laid down some greens. Let me go ahead and talk about the colors that I have chosen for a second before I go into the drawing. So I usually take out the pastels in advance, I want to work today with a color scheme of red and green, the complementary color scheme. So I've taken out these colors. If you do not have all the colors, if you have a smaller box, that's fine. I'll tell you how you can choose colors. So I've taken out all the different values, like starting from light all the way to darks of red. And I've also taken out different kinds of reds. So there are some oranges, maybe some purples, and then all the way to the darks. And I've done the same thing with the greens. I have very, very light greens and then going on to the dark greens. And again, different kind of greens. Some could be warmer, some could be cooler greens. I also have the compressed charcoal that I'm going to use for the drawing. I have white, pastel, and then I have a couple of grays over here. And over here, I have some neutrals. As you can see, these colors are not very vibrant. So I have some neutral greens. I have some neutral grays. The neutrals are very important because the colors look vibrant only if they're next to neutral colors. So this is the palette that I have set out for today. I might not use all of these colors. I might use some of them. I might take out some more colors from what I have. Now, in case you don't have all the colors that I have shown, what you can do is instead of trying to match, say if you don't have a really dark green, what you can do is you can use a dark blue. If you don't have a very light pink or a very light green, you can use any other color as long as it is as light to the color that I'm using. So this was my palette for today. I want to show you, and if you have a rough sheet of paper, you could just do these simple exercises before we actually start to draw. I'm going to start with the compressed charcoal and I'm going to show you how I work with that. When I work with it, I'm using the side. So I'm not using the point. I'm holding it from the side. And I'm moving in different directions. And I'm pressing harder at some points. I'm pressing lighter. I'm also going over the lines. I'm kind of creating like an interwoven kind of structure. And that's how I like to draw. Now, after drawing, I like to use I start with the colors on top. And for most of the pastels, I remove the pastels come with a little paper wrapped around it. So I remove that so that I can use the side of the pastel. So I like to use the side of the pastels and I like to go just very gently. I'm not pressing it very, very hard. So in the beginning, I always want to keep it very, very lighter application. And as I move forward with my painting, I can make it more and more opaque. And another thing I use a lot for my work is layering of pastels. So I have one color and I'll go ahead and put another color on top. And it creates beautiful variations of colors. Now, once I have these kind of layers, I can go ahead and draw on it. And it starts looking very beautiful because there is this almost translucent layer of pastel. And then I have added some opaque pastel on top of that. Another thing I do is if I draw something which is very opaque, I can go over with another pastel and lightly just cover up that line. And that also creates a very interesting effect because you kind of get a little bit of three-dimensionality where you feel that there is some kind of line or drawing underneath this color. So you can see that these two are opposite to each other, but I use both of them in my work. Another tool that I use is when I put down a color and I want to put another color on top of it, but I don't want to cover it up completely like this. I will go over with the shape and I will just add some parallel lines on top. So that also gives me three-dimensionality, a little bit of depth, and it continues to show the color which was underneath, but it adds another transparent layer on top. So these were some of the ways in which I use pastel. I kind of work with my own rhythm, my own flow, and I want you guys to do the same. Uh, I have a photograph here, which you can use for reference if you want to draw from here. I also have a real floral arrangement over here, which you can't see. I'm going to draw from that. Or if you have any real flowers with you, you can put that in front and use that. So I'm going to go ahead and start the drawing for today. So what I'm going to do before I actually start to draw on this is I'm going to just take a pastel, and I've taken a green pastel, and I'm just going to just very, very lightly just create some mark making with this pastel. Kind of floral, but not very well defined. I've tested very, very lightly. I use my fingers at this stage to just blur it out a little bit. I want to make some kind of rounding to the surface that I'm going to start working with. I can take another color and do the same thing. This time I've taken a gray. Choose another one. And I'm doing the same thing. Just adding some broad marks. Before I actually start the drawing. So this is how I started drawing. I'll give you guys a minute if you're working along to complete this stage. I've chosen a green and a gray, but you can choose a different color. You can choose reds or another kind of green if you wanted to. But I just want to keep it simple. I want to keep it muted at this point. So I have just used these two colors. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the compressed charcoal and I'm going to start the drawing. Now, when I do a drawing, I don't I don't try to completely copy what's in front of me. I just like to go with the rhythm and the flow of my drawing. So I'm looking at the subject, I'm looking at it, but then I'm also kind of following my own inner rhythm and pattern. I'm going to start. And again, if this is a charcoal, I'm not using the point of the charcoal, I'm using the side of the charcoal. And you can use the side, or if you don't feel comfortable using the sides, you can use the point. And you can see when I'm drawing, I'm not worried about the accuracy. I just want to get the feel of a floral. And I really like to work with a lot of lines and a lot of movement. And I like to go over the lines, intersect the lines, almost, almost like an interwoven structure. Okay, so I think I'm okay with this drawing. Okay, so that's my drawing, and I'll give you guys some time uh, to finish your drawing. As you can see, I just want to give an impression that there is a flower over there. I'm not too much worried about each and every petal. I want to keep it loose. I want to have a lot of movement, a lot of intersecting lines. And I want to use, and I'm using the compressed charcoal because I want to get some really dark lines at this stage of the drawing. And then once I'm done, I'll just slightly, very, very slightly, I will move the charcoal a little bit around. Not too much. I don't want to smudge the whole thing. But just a little bit. After I do my drawing with the black charcoal, I like to take a white pastel and just go over or create some more lines with it. Again, this time I'm not even looking at my flower arrangement. I'm just going very, very spontaneously. Not covering everything, but going over what was already there. Okay, so next I'm going to start with the pastels, and I like to start with the darker colors. So I'm going to use a dark red, and I'm going to start, and I'm applying the pastel very, very lightly. I'm using the side of the pastel, and I just want to start by adding some darker pastel. I'm not filling inside the lines. And as I'm doing that, I'm also using the point to make some lines. So I like to use the sides to get some shapes or to get some color in. And then I like to use the point just to draw a few more lines. I like to keep the same rhythm that I use for drawing when I'm using the pastels. I want to keep the same kind of spontaneity and the flow. Now I'm going to go to the flower, which is over here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start with a darker color, but I want it to be different from this one. So I'm starting with a more vibrant red. And again, I'm going over the lines. I'm creating some more lines as I'm working. Next, I'm going to leave the darker areas as they are. And I'm going to start with some really light pastels. So I have a really, really light pink. And I'm going to start putting and defining some of the background with this color. Again, I'm not trying to go around the edges. I can go inside the flower. That is fine, absolutely fine. And I want to add different colors in the background and not just one color. So I'll switch to another lighter color. Maybe this time I'll go for a lighter green. And I'll try and bring that color on this side of the background. And I think I want to go for an even lighter green. And sometimes you just have to find the right color um, from your color box. So I'm going to switch back to I'm gonna switch back to the flower because I have done a little bit of the background, but now I want to go back to the flower and I want to switch back and forth between working with the flowers and the background. I picked up another color, which is like a pink. I think I like this color over here. Maybe I'll make just a few lines right over here. And then I want to go and add another color to this flower. I know we are using red and green, but a little bit of orange is definitely going to look nice with this picture. I think I want to go for an even lighter color on this side. So what I'm trying to do is I started with a darker color and now I'm adding different values, which means different colors which are lighter. So it's very important that we add different values, means different lights and different dark colors. So there's a dark color over here in the middle, then this color was a little lighter, and then I went with another color which was even lighter. Yeah, I'm trying a different color. It's more like a purple, but I don't think this is going very well with the orange. So I will not use this color. Instead of that, I'll try and use a more brighter red. And I want to add some really light colors now to this flower. Since I have so many bright colors, I can go with some neutral colors next to it, like a neutral gray. But what I'm also trying to achieve over here is to get some beautiful marks, to get some spontaneous, beautiful mark making, and still give an impression that it's a floral. And if you're able to get some beautiful colors, if you're able to get some good mark making, and even if it looks more abstract, it's perfect. You know, as it's, I think it's still it's still a good experiment to try work with pastels in a semi-abstract fashion. I think I want to use some more neutrals because there is a very bright red over here. I think this petal I want to remain lighter because there's dark colors next to it. I'm just going to add some white here. Maybe some whites over here. I could also add some white over here, just to make it look more contrast. I think I want to try some of the greens. I have not used too many greens in this picture as yet. So this is like a darker green. It's slightly more brighter green. And this is a blue green that I'm using over here. A warmer green. Just want to define this petal a little bit more. I just want to step back and see what else I need to do on this. I think I'll move back to the background and try and finish the background, and that will give me, I think, some more clues as to what I can do with the actual flowers. So I'm going to go and take a very, very light blue, almost like a gray. Try and bring that color to this part. Immediately when I do this, I realize that I need to have a darker color over here. So I'm going to use a darker pastel. something dark. Let's try this one. Yeah, that's done. And I think at some points I want the background kind of seep in a little bit into the petals as well. Let's get another color for the background on the other side. Let me try another lighter pink for this side. And it's almost looking like a peach color, which not anywhere else. So I'll just add a little bit of it over here as well. I feel that this side and these two petals are kind of looking the same. So I want to change that. I'm going to go ahead and give this a little bit more blurry and take away the lines. So I want to bring some of the oranges that I've used here down here. And I can do that by using a nice rust color, so that the two look kind of connected. I want to just lighten this with the shape of a petal over here. Again, I'm never pressing that hard that everything gets covered up. I'm always trying to show the previous layers, which are there. I'm going to go back to my neutrals and just add some neutral greens next to the orange. This is another very neutral grayish green. I want to use that. next to the bright orange. I think I'm kind of okay with this part, and I want to continue now working on the bottom flower. I think I just overdid something over here, so I'm going to go back and make it a little bit more muted. I will go back with probably a darker color and just tone it down a little bit. And at this point, I can continue working on it, or I can stop. Sometimes I stop and I come back and look the next day to see what I need to do, how I need to finish. Or I can finish it and call it done at this point. And that's the fun part about the abstract, that there is no one particular point where you have to stop. You can stop at any point that you feel that it feels complete to you. So I'm just kind of trying to just do some minor adjustments here. I want to see some more green over here. Yeah, this part feels like I've done too much on it, so I should just not add anything else over here. I'll go back to my white and I'll just bring out some of those lighter areas back. Okay, let me have a look from a distance and see what it needs. The only thing I want to change in this right now is that I see that all these three parts, the colors are kind of looking the same. So I want to change that. And I want to make probably make this part a little darker. So it starts looking different from this. And these two are still looking very similar. So maybe I should change the value for this one. It's like a lighter brown color. I like this color better because now all these three areas are looking different. All the three petals are looking different. You can go back to the background, bring some of the background in so that there are no sharp defined lines. And do the same thing here. I think this is better because I kind of got all the areas looking different. The only thing another thing I want to do here is to take my gray and just take some color away from this green. Just make it more muted because it's next to a very, very bright red. Yeah, try to get rid of some of the really sharp lines that I got when I was doing these petals. I want to bring some of the drawing part back. If I was doing this drawing for myself, I would probably leave it at this point and come back and see next day whether I need to do something in it or not. Because I could be overdoing certain things. But I just want to add some more lines in it because lines create a lot of movement and drama for me. And just like it did over here. So that's the kind of feel I want to get in this part as well. Let me have a look at it again from the distance. Yeah, I think I'm very close. I'm very close to now stopping and just let it sit for some time. As I had said in the beginning, when I use pastels, I like to keep the same flow and momentum as if I'm drawing with the charcoal. And that helps me to get the movement that I like, the drama and the movement that I like. Just add a little orange here. And maybe a little bit of lighter orange. Okay, I think I'm going to stop here because I can continue, but I think at this point, I either need to look at it after some time or just see whether I really need to add anything else to it or not. And just one last thing, the whites. Just want to exaggerate some of the whites. Okay, so that's the demo. As I had said, that it's not going to look anything what I have done in the past. Every drawing looks different. And this one has definitely turned out to be different from my previous attempts. So this is this is all for the demo today. So I'm ready for any questions.
Do have a question. And also I should say I can turn everyone's mics on really quick and you guys can actually ask questions if you'd like. So the first question is, should we spray adhesive when finished?
Sorry?
Someone's asking if they should spray adhesive on it when they're finished.
So that is something which I want to talk about. And I want to switch the screen for a second and show you a fixative. So the one that I like to use is the Lascaux. This is the fixative, but I don't like to overspray my pastel because it changes the colors. So even if you have to do it the way I do it, I will just give a very, very light coat of it, which will kind of make it a little bit more permanent, but it will not completely fix it, because if I over fix it, then the colors change completely. So this is one of the ones available in the market, but if you look around, there are other companies too which make fixatives.
Hi, I enjoyed just moving the pastels really quickly. I typically blend too much, but this was really nice. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I like to blend a little bit in the beginning.
Yeah.
Just to, get a little bit feel of the paper on my fingers. But I don't like to blend towards the end, especially if you have too many layers. If you blend it, then they all start looking mushy and gray. So even if I have to mix two colors, I try to do them with the pastel stick instead of using my fingers.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome.
Hey, Benita, would you mind saying what the fixative you used was again?
Yeah, so I will show you the one that I use. It is this one, Lascaux. Is that how you pronounce it? It's French.
Mhm.
And you get it at Jerry's, or you can order it online. It says it's an acrylic fixative, but it works really well with the pastel. But as I said, I don't overspray anything. It'll be just a very, very thin layer, just to kind of just make it a little bit more permanent. It doesn't do too much to it because otherwise it changes colors. And everybody has their preference for fixatives. I know there are artists who use much more than I do, but I'm just not very comfortable using too many fixatives.
Is there a good way to erase an area of your work?
Um, so the way I use, like if I have to erase a part, I would just go and try and get a color or a pastel which is very close to my background color and just go over it. Or I could use a white if I wanted to get rid of this part. I'll just go over with a lighter color. You can't completely erase it with pastel, but you can just go over with a lighter color. Or if it's a darker, then you can, if it's a lighter area, you can go over a darker area, just to kind of merge it with the background. And it also leaves like an interesting impression of the previous line over there. I do have some other work that I did. Should I go ahead and pin that up as well, just to get an idea?
Sure. Or I wasn't sure if there were still people drawing. If they're not, then yeah.
Yeah, I can just pin it up so that they can
Yeah.
see what are the different way the paintings can look.
Here's a question for you. What manner of mixed media might you add?
Sorry, what was that again?
What type of mixed media might you add to one of these? Like in terms of collage or any type of other media?
Right. What kind of mixed media I do? Or how you
Or
can.
what kind could you add to this? Is there any limitations as to what you could add?
So soft pastel has a little bit of limitations because it doesn't blend very well with a lot of different things. But one way I use mixed media is by doing an underpainting. And I can do an underpainting in acrylic paint, like really soft, fluid acrylic paints. And then I can start adding my more opaque pastels on top. So that is one way. Um, One way to do it. Usually with other acrylic paints and collage, it's kind of tough. I have found it tough to mix soft pastels with those kind of things.
I'm guessing most adhesives will not adhere very well over oil pastel?
No, because yeah, it's very hard to put something on it and not smudge it. So even if you have to do a mixed media and you want to use pastel, you can use the pastel and then you do you spray fix the pastel so that it becomes a little bit more permanent. And then you can probably try putting collage or other things on top. I always use pastel more as a drawing medium, and it is a very, very versatile medium where you can use it for just initial drawings, or you can use it for more finished paintings, looking like more detailed paintings.
All right, well, if nobody has any more questions, that does conclude today's demo, and I'm going to stop recording. All
Thank
right,
you,
and
everybody, for joining.
yeah, and thank you, everybody.